A little early, but we might as well start. Just kind of introductions. I'm Wacey Clark, Colorado Hemp Solutions, and we started in 2015. We started to learn about the industrial hemp game. 2016 was the beginning of our inception. 2017 was the first regulated and certified grow, and then this year we've expanded about tenfold, and that expansion is probably going to continue to try to meet demand for cannabinoids grown in an industrial hemp setting. So we're going to try to keep this as simple as possible. Full disclosure, I am not a doctor. I'm not your doctor especially. So the FDA is very specific in these new and emerging nutraceutical channels that we don't overstep our bounds as business owners or as homeopaths or whatever you want to call it, to give specific dosing instructions or to try to cure diseases or anything like that. What industrial hemp gives us is a way to produce cannabinoids for medicine in great, we can grow a lot more of it than they can in a marijuana setting. And we come from a construction, agricultural background, farming, ranching, and then on the construction side of things, Clark & Company is my other business. So the idea of soil science, landscape irrigation techniques and practices, nursery practices, it all kind of gave my family a background to come into this hemp game and bring some new ideas. And fast forward 3 years later, here we are. We started as just trying to be a hemp farm, but in the beginning of this industry, trying to sell your products and trying to understand those derivatives and what they do, it took us down a path for which we followed all the way to where we make our own products, and we can offer a true farm-to-table option in the hemp world. So anyway, I'm Wacey Clark. That's my immediate family. That's my wife and my 2 kids. Fruit of mine, high school graduate, been here my whole life. Went to college at Trinity University in San Antonio, and then brought my wife home, and here I am. Cannabinoids, I don't want to spend a ton of time on what cannabinoids are, but basic idea is that these are chemical compounds that react with receptors inside our bodies. So there's endocannabinoids, which are produced naturally from your body. You'll hear people say that there's cannabis in breast milk. Well, it's not cannabis in breast milk, but there's endocannabinoids in breast milk, absolutely. Your body produces these molecules itself. Those are endocannabinoids. Phytocannabinoids are cannabinoids that are produced by plants. So these are things that we can use to supplement this system inside of our bodies. The whole idea on cannabinoid supplementation and your endocannabinoid system is based on homeostasis, balance. So these are responses that help your body balance itself. So it's tough when you have a plant that can treat so many ailments and can help in so many different ways, it becomes mildly unbelievable. Well, when you think back to the idea of it is only trying to balance your body, of course it's going to find the things that are out of balance. So homeostasis is something to remember as we talk through all cannabinoids and the treatments there too. The 2 separate types of receptors that are currently identified are the CB1 and CB2 receptors. By this time next year, science will probably dictate that there's 25 of these receptors in different types. But for now, the CB1 and CB2 receptors are what is accepted by science. The different cannabinoids and the different molecules that the plant creates fit into those receptors or agitate those receptors to create the effect that we're after or a side effect there too. Go ahead, Pete. Guys, this is Dr. Juflis. Dr. Pete Juflis is my official assistant here. This talk today doesn't have a lot to do with animals, but Dr. Juflis and his wife have really brought a lot of science to our group, basically based in animals, but the formulations that we have worked together and the amount of understanding that he's brought to the team is paramount. So he's not only the assistant on the PowerPoint, he's a major part of the team. Hemp-derived cannabinoids are there is no difference in the molecular structure of these cannabinoids. The difference is that we have to do everything with plants that cannot produce more than 0.3% THC, dry weight basis. So in doing so, the Colorado Department of Agriculture lets us grow acres and acres of cannabis. If the cannabis has more than 0.3% THC, all must be destroyed. So it is a very specific type of farming that is incredibly risky in that you can do everything perfectly right. If someone lied to you during your genetics process and finding that, or if you have an environmental reaction to, say, temperature or water or your fertilization strategies, and the ability to change those nutritional strategies through the life cycle of the plant, you can create more than 0.3% THC. 0.3% THC is such an incredibly small amount that the plant has no idea what that means. So it's a very, very tough thing to farm. It grows well, but as far as to make it excel while keeping that THC threshold at a bare minimum, it's difficult. However, when executed, it lets us grow many more milligrams, grams, kilos of the cannabinoids, predominantly CBD. I try to stay away from just talking about CBD. Most of the hemp game is based in CBD. It is the dominant cannabinoid that we grow, but we try to keep everything as full spectrum as we possibly can, the whole plant. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But the marijuana guys, they have to pay very special attention to seed to sale regulations. So imagine an RFID tag that follows that plant throughout its life. So the amount of paperwork and the amount of overhead that's involved, and they are mandated by a certain amount of plants that are permitted to grow. So it's difficult for a dispensary to choose to grow just a CBD strain when much of their business has to do with THC. So there's two very important and very relevant places in the cannabis world in Colorado, and our example is being followed throughout the United States. So Colorado drives the boat, and many people, many states fall back on the regulation of the state of Colorado. So there's the dispensary side, the marijuana enforcement division side that is important because THC is vilified, but THC is medicine as well. It's something that we can't play in that realm, but we respect the medicinal power of that as well. What we're able to do is to take the psychoactive part out of it and have it be a true agricultural crop. So I'm not going to stand up here and dog on the dispensaries and the marijuana guys because we borrow a lot from each other in cultivation and in plant science, but there's definitely two separate avenues. So hemp-derived cannabinoids are going to be cannabinoids that are derived from a plant that cannot and will not produce more than 0.3% THC according to the government. We have chosen to participate in metric testing. There's only 4 hemp farms currently in the state of Colorado that we basically are laying ourselves down to the government and saying we will play in the level of regulation that the marijuana guys do in our testing. So we only use labs that are metric certified, Marijuana Enforcement and Testing Regulatory Committee, is that right, Don? Something like that? We do that by choice. I think that for the future of industrial hemp as medicine to continue, we have to accept and invite regulation and transparency. So we've kind of, stepped out there and we participate in metric testing. On the product side, so once we have grown that plant, as soon as that plant has been through the CDA's regulation and oftentimes tested, they can test up to 100% of the plants. This year they did their best, and I imagine they probably got to about half of them. But after that plant is grown according to CDA regulation, it is no longer regulated by the Colorado Department of Agriculture. It's treated as a true agricultural crop. So once it's done correctly, past that, the CDA doesn't really get involved. However, if we're going to make products now, the C, D, P, H, and E becomes involved. We have to play according to food. So this last year, the state legislature passed the Hemp and Food Bill, basically declaring that hemp derivatives, in order to have some form of regulation and product and consumer safety, need to be in line with food. So we have to have a commercial food manufacturing license to be able to make all of our own products. And this is good. All of this is good because unfortunately this industry began as a kind of an unorganized pilot program in 2014, and since then there have been a number of companies that have come to the industry and have lied and have not had consistency in their products and their offerings, and have really let a lot of people down that are in need. So therefore, the state comes in. It started with Denver Public Health and then went through to the CDPA chain. So we have to be regulated by the Department of Agriculture when we grow it, and the Department of Public Health and Environment when we make the products. Go ahead, Pete. So full spectrum. CBD is one molecule, one cannabinoid that's the dominant molecule, but it is only one molecule in that plant. There's 113 currently identified cannabinoids, and that number is growing dramatically. When you put in the terpenes and the terpenoids, you're well over 200 that are identified currently. The whole plant extract, that is what brings on the entourage effects of the different cannabinoids working with each other. So rather than isolating that one molecule, we try as desperately we can to educate people that the more whole plant, the more full spectrum that we leave these derivatives, the more effective they are, the more powerful they are. CBD as an isolated molecule is still a viable option for basically some very specific forms of pain management and epilepsy, seizure relief stuff.